Well, hey there, folks. I'm coming to you with this impromptu live stream for this evening because I've had one of my subscribers on Twitter. I'm not going to read their name out because, you know, I like to think people's privacy actually means something. But they have asked me to bring you the news that there is actually a petition for a 4th season of Thunderbirds Are Go, which I shall now put up for people to look on the screen. And Rob Hoagie has actually signed this petition as well. This is started by one user to get this petition to ITV1 Studios, and the goal is to get it to 500. Now, I've been extremely, and I mean extremely, candid about how Thunderbirds needed another season just to round things off, just to be able to see what more could be done with the story of Jeff Tracy and the boys, because we've been given a sense of what Jeff Tracy is like in this series, but it's only told from the boys' perspective through memory. I'm just going to tone the background music down just a little bit. Thank you. To be able to get a kind of a perspective of what their father was like, because Jeff was a complete no-show until the last half of season 3. And I know the whole point of the show was to, you know, get an understanding of what it was like and how the boys have had to grow in the absence of their father. But I think we were at that point by the time we got to maybe midway through season 2. It's like, yeah, we kind of need Jeff in this now, because Rob Hoagie established that it was a chance for the boys to stand on their own. And they did that more than convincingly. But I think as it, you know, got through the latter half of season 2 and into season 3, it's like Jeff had been purposely kept out for the first 2 seasons. So it's like, well, okay, logic would dictate that Jeff would be in for the 3rd season, and to only have him for like the 3rd act of season 3, although it was great, and I think that I'm struggling with his name now. The actor for the $6 Million Man, whoever's listening in the live stream, please, you know, just put his name out. Lee Majors, thank you. Lee Majors did a bang-up job, and, you know, a lot of us had our own expectations as to who could fill the legendary shoes of Peter Dineley, because Peter made the role of Jeff Tracy his own. So to come in after that and essentially, you know, try to build upon what Peter had. I mean, Peter in the world of Thunderbirds, he that role, you know, he's always going to be Jeff. And to be fair to the late Bill Paxton, I think if he had been given a little bit more time and at least another movie, I think we could have gotten something a lot more convincing from Jeff Tracy. But it's one of those, you know, we're never really going to know. But, you know, Lee Majors, for all intents and purposes, I thought he did great. Thank you, the second Fox. How you doing, by the way? I'm just going to leave the link in the description. I'm actually going to see if I can find a much shorter link, because, you know, that is really too long. Let's see. Oh, that's a lot easier to work with. Yeah, because the redirect link on Twitter was just too lengthy. So, folks, there's the link to go and put your 2 cents down and get this season possibly renewed for a 4th season, because most people know throughout the 3rd season I had made it more than abundantly clear that there was potential for what they could do for a 4th season, just to see, you know, whether Jeff would go back out into the field with them, whether he would just, you know, follow through what he had done with the original series. You know, there's so many unanswered questions, and because this version of Jeff is a much younger incarnation of the character than what we saw in the 60s, because I think Jeff is supposed to be about 55 in that version, so when Jeff disappeared he was more than likely to be mid to late 40s, so it's more than likely we probably could have seen more of what he could do. But at the same time, I just feel like, I don't know. And, you know, I might get Steven's partake on this just to see what he would say. Alright. And to see if Steve's not actually available at this time, so okay. But I don't know. I think with petitions there is always that chance that something could work, or there's always the off chance it could just, you know, absolutely fail. I don't know. There's I'll leave the tweet link in question so that people can go and see for themselves. But, you know, I'd like to know what people's take is on this. No, I absolutely agree, Second Fox. This needs to be signed. The world is in a mess right now. International rescue. Where are you? Absolutely. I could not agree more. I was hoping to be on here a tiny bit longer. Because like I say, I'm only doing this as a favor for to one of my subscribers. So, like I say, I'd like it to succeed, but I don't know. I just feel like the way ITV ended it with season 3, it felt like it ended on a good note with all the loose ends tied up. Because Jeff was back, the Hood was in prison again. For how long? Because in the world of Thunderbirds, there is always one certainty: the Hood will not be incarcerated for long. Whether it's the original series, whether it's the movie, or Thunderbirds Are Go, because he's never been able to stay in jail for long. So, like I say, I wouldn't like to say. Yeah. Second Fox, what would you like to see from a potential 4th season if this did actually come to pass? Because, you know, I always like to get input from my subscribers, so, you know, what would you like to see? Not really say anything, I can only presume. Maybe he's doing this on his phone, or he, you know, I don't know. Yeah, sorry I'm not saying much. I'm just waiting on Second Fox to give me a response. And to be fair, like I say, I'm not gonna... Kieran Porter, maybe establish Spectrum to work on a Captain Scarlet spin-off. Yes! I love that idea, Kieran. By the way, long time no see. Nice to hear from you again. Second Fox said, would the Zero XL have made Thunderbird 3 redundant? That is actually a good... That's actually an interesting... topic to have there, because the Zero XL, for all intents and purposes, is Star Trek, is Thunderbird's version of the Enterprise, because it's light speed. And if you have that, which is, 10 to 100 times faster and more powerful than Thunderbird 3, what do you need Thunderbird 3 for? That's actually a very good point, Fox. As for the idea of another Captain Scarlet spin-off, I really feel like the 2004 series was criminally cut short. But then again, that's nothing to do with the studio's decision. Yeah, they did choose to cut it, but it's just because the way that they marketed it was, in small sections on the Saturday's Ministry of Mayhem, which is like the 2000s equivalent of Going Live or various other Saturday morning kids programs. It was done where you have the sketches, you have the competitions, and somewhere in all of this is Captain Scarlet. And then it was put onto the CITV channel, where probably even less people saw it. I think if it had been done in a similar vein to that of the original Thunderbirds, when it had its rerun in the very early 90s, where it was on BBC Two at 6 p.m. in the evening, you could garner such a huge audience for that, because you would not only have, the kids would have come home from school and be able to watch it, but the parents have come home and they're like, oh, Thunderbirds, I remember this when I was growing up, I'm going to sit down and watch this, and it still looks amazing. I think if they had done that for Captain Scarlet when the 2004 series was put together, because I could see what Jerry was doing. He really liked the fact that there was still an audience for his creations in the 90s and the 2000s. And, one of the making of on the DVD was, the DVD was such a marvelous invention, and it still is, where, as I say, the parents could watch, DVDs of the original series. Now the kids could watch it. There was, like I say, there was an audience for it again. And oh yeah, absolutely, Second Fox. Jerry Anderson hated the broadcasting of New Captain Scarlet. I have to agree, it was never made plain what time the episode would air, or even that was a second half. Yeah. I think if it was put out today, you put it on live stream, you put it on things like Netflix or Amazon Prime, people could watch it at their leisure. That's something he sadly never got to see. because I knew for the longest amount of time he wanted to bring Thunderbirds back, but have it computer generated. So he did have that vision even then, and some people narc on the voice acting for new Captain Scarlet. I didn't see the problem. I thought the people that they got were more than credible enough, and the voice actor that they had for Scarlet, it was echoing the voice actor that they had for the original series. So yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Of course, the one spin-off we don't talk about was Turbocharged Thunderbirds. As far as I'm concerned, that thing can go launch into space and stay there. Because those that know from watching Sunday Night Live, Aaron Izzard, love you for that, by the way, buddy. He sent a request for us to do a commentary for the third episode, which was the expedition of Lake Anasta. Voice acting is terrible because all the characters were redubbed, and you get these two extra characters that have up on Hacker Station Thunderbird 5, which had no bearing or presence from the original series. So it was one of those, it's like, why is this here? So I'm glad when they brought Captain Scarlet back, they did it faithful to the original, and in a similar vein to what ITV Studios did with the reboot, reimagining, call it what you will. They were very respectful to the source material. All they need to do now is bring Stingray back, and the image is complete. Although because I actually tweeted this out some months back, Stingray needs to be brought back for a new age, and I think it was one of the lead organizers who did Filmed in Super Mario Nation and Thunderbirds 1965. He said that we think Stingray should be brought back as well, but it should be done with puppets and not what ITV were done. And on the one hand, I could see how that would be nice for the fans that grew up with it originally. I have the perspective of you have to meet people halfway. Because Thunderbirds, particularly with Thunderbirds Are Go, was being marketed for the kids of today, but at the same time there are more than enough respectful nods to the original so that, people our age that were kids in the early 90s could look at it, what the kids are seeing now, and they look at it and think, it's clearly made for them, but there's enough of the moments where the writers through the characters are winking to the audience, saying, you remember this from like the original series. It's like, okay. And I think for Stingray, I think it should take the Thunderbirds Are Go route, whereby the sets and maybe one or two vehicles are done with models and model sets, but the majority of the vehicles and the characters should be CG, because if you ask a kid of, say, 7 to 11 today, will they watch a puppet show? I think they'll probably turn around and say, no thanks. But hey, I could be wrong. I don't know. But it will be interesting just to see. Second Fox says, speaking of new Captain Scarlet, I noticed similarities between Captain Black and the Mechanic. Yeah, I can see what you're going with there. There's very similar characteristic nuances. The very cold delivery and cadence in the voiceovers, and just the general aesthetics of the character where, you know, how methodical he was. The only difference is with the mechanic compared to Captain Black is that the mechanic was under hypnotic persuasion from the Hood, whereas Captain Black was under extraterrestrial hypnotic persuasion, but equally displeasing for, you know, anybody who's had either of that in respective series. Yeah, so I think I've rambled on for about, you know, for probably 20 minutes too long, but that's just me. So if anybody's got any thoughts and suggestions as to what a potential 4th season could look like, leave your comments down below. Hey, Thunderbird Firefly, how you doing? Long time no see. I'm just about to leave and more people just come on in. Mind you, it's all good. Second thoughts. Specifically in the episode Venom, when he and Scott are having an argument. Yes. But then again, from the perspective of both characters, neither of them are wrong, because the mechanic for the longest amount of time had tried to sabotage International Rescue, and Scott has every right to sort of feel like, I don't know, you know, should I really trust you? But then the mechanic is trying to gain their trust because he's helping to build the T drive, and at the same time, given what Scott has gone through as a leader in the absence of his father and what have you, you could be forgiven for thinking why he is that way. So, yeah, pretty much. Well, I'm probably saying this, jinxing this now, but if anybody's got anything further to add to this live stream, leave your comments down below, and I'll give you a few minutes, you know, a few moments just to say something further, because I feel like I've pushed this longer than I've needed to do. I probably could have done this better by just having this as a video I could put together, but you know, I just got done doing the basic, well, there's nothing basic about this particular review that's coming. For a review I've got coming for August, because let's just say the edits were very technical on this one and frustrating to boot, along with the fact that it's very humid over here at the moment. But I'm trying to have the mindset as of late whereby I'm trying to cut my procrastination down to a bare minimum to none. Because it's one of those things, I know I'm probably getting onto a philosophical tangent here, but I feel regretful even when I get to the next day and it's like, could have spent another 10 minutes just finishing that off properly. And you get how that goes. So, yeah, Thunderbird Firefly is absolutely right. That wasn't the mechanic's fault. It was the Hood that had control of him. No. That's a very valid counterpoint. Probably could get a little bit more of an input if Steve was here, but I can only presume the guy's working at the moment, so yeah. The second Fox. This requires no pushing. It speaks for itself. Hashtag Jeff deserves season 4. Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, it would be great if we could actually see, Jeff pilot a Thunderbird. And not just the TV-21, but actually see him get behind, the wing of Thunderbird 1 or even Thunderbird 2. Although from what we saw of that movie, he seemed to be more in command of Thunderbird 2, so I don't know. And I can confirm for the 15th season of Real Features, for those that follow I really should put my phone on mute before going into a live stream, so that's my bad. For those that also follow this channel for my movie reviews, Real Features is going into its 15th season at the end of August, and I can confirm that I will be doing a 16th anniversary of the 2004 Thunderbirds movie. And just to give fair notification, I'm not going to purposely hate into it, but at the same time, I'm not going to pull my punches for it. If I find something that I find disagreeable, I will disagree with it, because at the end of the day, if you find something that you don't agree with, you don't agree with it. Firefly said, I would like to know what the mechanic real name is. That is a very good point, but at the same time, there's a nice level of mystique and mystery to the character where you only know them by their pseudonym. In a similar vein, obviously, today everybody knows that William Daniels was the voice of Kit in Knight Rider, but in the original series, he asked for the car for him not to be credited so that the car has a personality of its own. Peter Cullen didn't do that as Car in the first season meeting, but Paul Frees did ask for himself not to be credited so the car would have a personality that would stand out on its own. So, alright, you can't really necessarily compare Thunderbirds with Knight Rider. I mean, they're great shows for different reasons, but they're great shows equally. But you get the analogy that I'm going with, but where you don't have something completely definitive, it gets you thinking. There, like I say, there's a level of mystery. It's in a similar vein that in the original series, you never knew the Hood's real name. I mean, all we knew was that he was Kirano's half-brother, and they did give a name to him in the live-action movie, but even that could have been completely fictional within that world. So, who knows? Who knows? It's really hot tonight. Oh, I'm actually getting more viewers in here. Okay. Right, hang on. Let's see. Night Shard. I think I'm late for this, but what's this about? Season 4 petition? There's a petition going around that Rob Hoagie discovered Night Shard. Hang on. There's the link for you in the chat. I'm actually just going to do a quick refresh on that just to see how many we've got. Let's see. Currently, as we speak, let's see. Right, I'm just refreshing. Currently 194, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. We're not quite at the halfway mark. I think the most we've got, because it's still refreshing, it's probably 213. Hang on. There we go. Oh no. We're currently stopped at 214, so in all fairness, it's not necessarily bad. Second thought saying, I tweeted saying it would be nice to see a party with all of Jeff's friends that we met throughout the series, like Captain Taylor, Colonel Casey, Kip Harris, Asher, Finn, and Mr. Kirano. Rob Hoagie liked that tweet, so I was surprised that it didn't happen. Second thoughts, you actually bring up a very good point there. Because the only one that was present at the very end of it was Colonel Casey, and obviously Grandma Tracy. But yeah, the likes of Captain Taylor, Kip, Asher and Finn and Kirano, they were absent, but that might have been due to budgeting reasons, based on the fact, CG's not cheap, especially if you're doing something to, the high standard that Thunderbirds Go had set. Just doing another refresh on this. Let's see. 0567. Still going up. So I will put this link on my Twitter in a little bit, just to see if more people will, see it get a bit more widespread. But like I say, we'll just have to see, because Karen Apple. She says that they're also showing reruns on CITV. It wouldn't surprise me, considering that it's, the flagship show of CITV, and it's actually refreshing to see more British family shows, because Thunderbirds, for all intents and purposes, is a kids show, but because it's so generational, from the audience that watched it in the 60s to the rerun generation in the 90s and 2000s to what we have today, it crosses so many boundaries and generations that, it always has something for everyone. In a similar vein, not that you could necessarily compare Thunderbirds with Back to the Future, but Back to the Future has a timeless quality, and so does the original Thunderbirds to some varying degree, because there's not really an art form like Super Mario Nation, where, because Jerry really he hated the idea of working with puppets, but he said, look, if we're going to work with puppets, we're going to make it the best damn puppet show that we could put together, to the point where you watch all these episodes and they don't feel hokey. They actually feel like a mini Hollywood movie, and his shows actually set the standard for miniature effects for years to come, from what they did with Bond movies to the first few Superman movies, because Derek Meddings, who did like most of the miniature effects, he was working up until his last movie, which was GoldenEye, and I remember seeing like a couple of miniature effects, like the helicopters crash, and I'm like, this feels oddly familiar. Second Fox also says, something else I thought we would have seen was Alan listening his rescue to Jeff. We went to your moon base, we went to your Mars site, we found your TV-21, and Jeff cutting him off at TV-21. We need to show ATV how much Thunderbirds is loved by all. I haven't had my Jeff fix. I would love to see Brain and the mechanic working on a rescue. Yeah, I would as well. Because they do seem to be cut from a very similar mold as far as mechanical engineers are concerned. They might approach things from a very different philosophical point of view, but in terms of the intellect and the way they apply what they're doing, you know, it's very much a similar background. I'm just gonna leave my drink in here because, like I say, very thirsty work. Ugh. Sorry, folks. It's better. Because currently, yeah, I believe it was Second Fox GoldenEye was dedicated to Derek Meddings. 17 degrees centigrade currently here. That's something. Also, mechas on a Thunderbird. Yeah, that was something. Somebody actually brought up in one video, pardon me, how, you know, for some people, how dark and heart-wrenching it was when Thunderbird 4 was crushed in half in Up From the Depths. Now, unlike the original series where characters would die off, because of the way that TV has changed over the last 50 years or so, you can't really put that into TV shows anymore. So they were able to show a level of darkness and levels of high stakes by showing, you know, one of the Thunderbirds being destroyed, and of course the rockets, the craft, call them what you will, they are characters in this series. So to be able to see integral characters taken out the way that they were, that was tough for some people. I think the only Thunderbird that didn't really have that didn't take any damage, as far as I'm aware, was Thunderbird 5. Because Thunderbird 2, you know, had that problem with the Season 2 opener in Earthbreaker, where the VTOL jets had been taken out, and then reenacting the crash landing from the New York episode, which I think if they tried to put the title of the original episode out today, I don't think that would be put out. We all know why. Thunderbird Firefly says, TB4 looking like it had been in a fight with Hypno Disc from Robot Wars. I probably tapped out by that point, Firefly, because last time I saw Robot Wars, Craig Charles was still presenting it, and probably, it's probably been a fair few years since then. Yeah. I know Karen was one of the subscribers that was asking me to put the petition news out, so yeah, I will be signing it later. in a moment or two, I'm going to, hop out and just get a little fresh air because it's very hot at the moment. And like I say, it's just very humid over here. But, oh, hang on. Fox says, the series shied away from deaths. Only 2 deaths seen in the series. Gladys, a geranium, and Jeff, who later turned out to be alive. That's a very good point. I think although, because Gladys was a plant, it's not really viewed in the same context as, let's say if we lost KO. Because, yeah, that would have stung a little bit. They didn't really have the same dynamic between KO and Alan as they did with Alan and Tintin back in the day. I think with this incarnation, it's more like a brother and sister kind of thing. If anything, I thought there might have been a sort of a thing between Scott and KO because there's that give and that little bit of tension. Fox says, Breakout showed the mechanic sacrificing himself by committing suicide, but a few minutes later he appeared to have escaped. Yeah. Which I think, Breakout, which I think was the mid-season 2 finale, that was using elements from a Century 21 comic book storyline where you would have seen one of the pod vehicle that they used to tunnel in, that was actually used to tackle at the time a white rhino, which I think white rhinos have actually gone extinct. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Well, I feel like every time I try to announce I'm going to go off air, there's someone that just keeps popping into the live chat and what have you. But yeah, this has actually been fun to do, as well as connecting with those that follow Sunday Night Live every Sunday night, 9 p.m. British Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 1 p.m. if you're on the West Coast of America. We talk about anything and everything. The only thing that we'll say is, when I say we're a mature podcast, I don't mean, we go yell explicit from dusk till dawn. Nothing like that. It's just that some people like to be a little bit more comfortable and relaxed, and it's just a very casual sort of podcast. But with this one, this one's nothing like that. This is more of a family-based one, so I tend to watch what I say. But I will ask the audience now, is After the Storm, with regards to a live stream, something you would like to see more often in the future? Because, like I say, Karen was one of the people that, wanted my 2 cents on the Petition news for a 4th season of Thunderbirds or go. I mean, I'm asking my audience now, is this something you'd like to see as a regular thing, as a bi-weekly thing, or even a monthly thing? From Dynamic Night Entertainment, because, hey, I'm always open to suggestions of how to entertain my audience, because you guys are the reason why I continue to do what I do. I've been doing this for 13 years. I love what I do. So, yeah. Let me know in the live chat, or if you're watching this later on the replay, let me know in the comments section below. Karen definitely wants to see that. Okay. I'd definitely like to get Steven's 2 cents, because Steven tends to join us on Sunday Night Live whenever Kaiju Noir is not there. I know this is unrelated to this thing, but if you like somebody that likes to talk about Japanese monster movies, do hit up Kaiju Noir's YouTube channel if you're into that thing. Second, folks, I would love to bring back After the Storm, but I can only bring that back if there are new episodes to cover. It's in the similar vein with Night Watch, because at some stage I will go back to the original series of Knight Rider just to finish off covering the 2nd season of that show, and eventually there will come a time where I'm looking down at that list of episodes to cover, and it will be there. For those that don't know, if you've never followed my series Night Watch, everyone knows I cannot stand the 4th season and series finale Voodoo Night, because from a writing production, a production value, and an acting thing, it's just terrible across the board. And I know at some stage I will be reviewing that. I don't like it, but I'll be reviewing it. And after that point, the door will be closed on Knight Rider just to review that. But with Thunderbirds Are Go, After the Storm can only return if a 4th season comes back. Fox, I would love to be able to produce new missions of After the Storm, but like I say, ITV Studios need to make a season 4 happen. It's all down to them, and let's be real, if a 4th season does get commissioned, it probably won't get here until, say, late 2021 or 22, because what's been going on with the worldwide event at the moment, it's making it kind of impossible to be able to do that. I mean, a lot of places are slowly getting back to work, and a lot of industries are getting back to what they were doing, but I don't know. I really wouldn't know what to say at that specific point, so I don't know. I mean, for all we know, a new version of Stingray is probably lurking around the corner, because Thunderbirds has provided ITV with a new avenue of what you can do to revamp a show, but still, have the basic DNA that the original audience, the rerun audience can appreciate, but at the same time a new audience can look at. One thing I'm a little bit surprised by from ITV Studios is we've had no next-gen computer game for either the PS4 or the Xbox One of Thunderbirds Are Go. I know there's been mobile games, but it's not the same. I would love to be able to play an Xbox One game of, piloting Thunderbird 2, reenacting iconic rescues, be able to take Thunderbird 3 up into space. They could do a thing whereby if people have played the Ghostbusters video game from 2009, you'll know what I'm talking about, where you can play an unnamed rookie and actually work with the original Ghostbusters, or you could just choose one of the 5 brothers or KO and be able to pilot the ships that way. But I will say this much: I would probably just be like, no, I'm just gonna fly Thunderbird 2. Yeah, fly Thunderbird 2. But like I say, folks, I'm indefinitely going for real now. Thank you for everybody tuning in. I suppose you could call this, the After the Storm podcast, or the Storm podcast. I don't know. I'll probably think of some witty title for it at some other stage, but thank you to everyone for tuning in. And this is one of the reasons I love to do live streams. I love to connect with my audience. Thunderbird Firefly is saying they keep Thunderbirds true to the original as much as possible. Yeah, that they did. So yeah, like I say, I love what I do. I love being able to connect with my audience like this. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. I probably get more people listening in for this than what I do with SKL, but SKL on occasion is somewhat of an acquired taste. We tend to just go off on tangents and just stray off topic far too long, but it's a fun podcast, so if you're into something a little bit different, we'd love to have your company on a Sunday evening. Only thing I'll say is, if you come across a gentleman known as Oni Rakaku, it's just his screen name. He's a little crazy, but he's a good kind of crazy. And Second Fox, you're absolutely welcome. People got mentioned in those credits because you guys helped to make After the Storm what it is. Because if I don't have you guys, I don't have much of an audience. So, I'm a firm believer in giving thanks where giving thanks is appropriate and required. So I thought it was a requirement, but also a pleasure to thank those in those credits. And if there was anyone that I ever missed out, trust me, it wasn't on purpose. It's because I can only remember so many. But to anybody that wasn't mentioned, wasn't intentional. But seriously, to everyone that's listening, thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much. To everyone that that I mentioned or didn't mention, thank you so much. For the 5-year run covering Thunderbirds Our Go, it was a joy to do. Firefly, you're absolutely welcome. Yeah. Thank you ever so much. And if you're in for something a little bit different, there is a Thunderbirds versus Thunderbirds review, if some of you are interested. I'll just leave this. Would help if I could spell. No. Copy the address is easier. If you're in for something a little bit different and want to see some of the other stuff that I do, have fun. I will give fair warning. If you think the guy I'm reviewing with is irritating, that's part of the joke. The younger version of me is meant to be irritating by default, but, that's just the nature of his character, so... yeah. But, like I say, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Just to be able to put up with me for nearly an hour. But seriously, you're a great audience. thank you so much. And hopefully we can do this again sometime at some stage in the future. Maybe I could, finally do something with Steve and Aaron Izzard. And maybe with Sean Retro as well. Who knows? But thank you so much. And good night from the night. And hopefully I'll see you again in another mission. Thank you for your time, folks. You're an amazing audience.